Hello, we are Hawksman Real Estate. I am James Mason.
And I'm Sarah Colenso.
And we are here to talk to you about the local property market. With many of you asking us questions about what's happening right now, we thought it would be a good idea, time to time, for us to sit down and have a chat about what we believe is going on in the local market. Well, now that we're in September, we thought it would be a good idea for Sarah and I to get together and just give a quick overview on how the summer months have gone, and then more importantly, perhaps, what this last 3 or 4 months of the year is going to look like. So, I mean, it has been interesting, hasn't it, Sarah?
I'm getting a little bit sick of new normals, I'll be honest, James. Again, completely unpredictable. We didn't know this was going to happen. And it's been sort of something that we've had to sort of accelerate to get used to again, haven't we?
Well, I think, look, the market has been performing over this year, I think, quite predictably on what we knew what was happening. And then in June, the interest rate hike of the 0.5% seemed to have the biggest effect on the mortgage market.
It really did.
And that's when, and it also was funny because we talked about this, it's almost like a perfect storm in that it coincided in June with the end of term and people going away on holiday. And I don't know if you saw this year, but I saw loads of people going away before the end of term.
Well, yeah, and then didn't come back, did they?
Yeah, so everybody went away for, I don't know, what I felt was a longer holiday this year. I mean, people were away.
They just didn't come back. That's the thing.
Didn't come back, did
they?
No.
It felt like a real recalibration of everything. People were just like, let's just see what happens. That seemed to be the tone of the summer.
Reminiscent of Brexit year.
Very much so.
Wasn't it?
Oh my goodness. Do you remember Brexit year?
Reminiscent of Brexit year. Mm-hmm. Daneshill Sports Day.
Men.
The results came in. There were kids running up and down, and there were men pacing tennis courts.
There were women
phones.
crying. Yes,
it was.
I remember my husband just kept checking his phone, waiting for someone to announce that, "Oops, we've made a mistake, and actually we are going to stay in Europe," and that never happened, did it? I still wish he'd been right about that.
But it was interesting to see what happened then. So we're talking 2016 then, and it just shut down, didn't it?
Yep.
I mean, just July and August just shut down. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because this year was similar in activity numbers in that the majority of people just went away. We still sold houses, and I would say the quality of buyer that was around this year was exceptional.
There were some fantastic quality buyers out there with wheelbarrows full of money, cash.
Who want to get on with it.
100%.
And in fact, we again went to multiple bids on properties.
We did some lovely private deals as well, but we can talk about that later if you like.
But the numbers that were out there, they just weren't anywhere near what you would normally expect for a July and August. Mm-hmm. It was, a quarter of what you normally expect, which is a quarter of what is normal in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. So it was funny. But interestingly enough, just I think like Brexit year, September, everyone came back from their summer holes.
And they said, let's get it done.
And they said, let's get on with it.
Yes.
Best of British, stiff upper lip and all that. So we have already seen in September the phone ringing off the hook, which is interesting from both sellers and buyers who want to get things done before Christmas.
Yes. And what sort of buyers are they? Because we've noticed quite a strong profile of buyers, haven't we?
So they're not, chain free. So a lot of the buyers that we're registering now are chain free. And interestingly enough, that has been something that has been an absolute pain in the backside all year, is actually chains breaking down.
Yes.
So whereas before you'd hear a call from a buyer saying, hey, we're under offer to a first-time buyer and it's all going through and that's great. You think, oh, brilliant,
Happy
wonderful.
days.
Yeah, first-time buyer's great.
Now it sends a chill of fear down your spine, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does if they're dealing with certain Southwest London or, West London estate agents who have put, a kid on the sales progression to look after it. And you're ringing up going, do you actually know what's happening here? Is there any management going on? So it is nice at the moment, if you're thinking of selling your property, to try and find someone who is chain-free. Cash buyers are great, and there are loads of cash buyers around at the moment.
Yes.
But mortgages, actually, to be fair, and we can talk about mortgages again in a minute, but mortgage rates have come back down recently. But again, we're getting used to the new normal, aren't we?
Another new normal.
And actually,
exactly.
I think as people get their heads around it, you're going to buy a house, aren't you? Mm-hmm. And if it costs you a little bit more, you cut your cloth accordingly and you maybe buy something a little bit under your budget.
Yes. I think people have had to readjust their budgets. It seems to be quite a trend, hasn't it? That people who were looking in one bracket have just had to rein themselves in a bit to keep up with the affordability of it.
And the question is, have estate agents realised that in their pricing and have sellers accepted that in the advice that they're being given? And,
we've had some awkward conversations, haven't we?
It is a mixed result, isn't
Yeah,
it? It's like a bag of
really
Revels.
is. Everyone's still catching up, but like a bag of Revels.
Yeah, I was hoping you got that reference.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Some of them are coffee. Yeah.
I actually like the coffee ones. I'm
Well.
disappointed they took the peanuts out, though. I understand why. I'm still disappointed. So,
But
yeah.
you just never know what you're getting.
Yeah.
And we see properties going onto the market now at figures which are just nuts. Absolutely insane. Can't work it out. 3 weeks later, they come down by 15%.
And that's been a particular trend, hasn't it? Yeah.
And you wonder what the conversation is between client and agent. Is that something that the agent has pitched to them and said, hey, I've got an idea. Let's go crazy. And then we'll bring it back down and you'll look like you've got it massively wrong. Or is it the vendor, the seller, twisting the agent's arm and saying, well, hold on, let's put it on for more money because that's what I think my house is worth?
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest with
You
you.
know,
And
I'd
the
love to-
conversations we've had, it doesn't work out well, does it?
It doesn't
So-
work out well. And I think just putting a house on the market based on what you need is challenging
Yeah.
because that's not how a property is valued. And I think, you know, I should say this, we take an awful lot of time when it comes to valuing
And then some, yeah.
valuing houses, and you try and get them all right. And I think in the majority of cases, we're pretty much spot on. But, you know, there are some crazy valuations, especially now. You go back to the beginning of the year and you think, well, do you know what? You could get away with
You could
your-
roll the dice a bit, couldn't
could
you,
roll
and
the
see how
dice
it
a
went?
bit,
Absolutely.
get away with it. But I think after July, definitely, and then going into August, I think people need to be a little bit more conservative. But the big question is now, what's going to happen in September and October?
Well, we've talked about what we hope would happen and what we think is going to happen, and it's all pointing in that direction, isn't it? That we are going to have a couple of decent months.
I think it's behaving as we expect it to
Exactly.
behave, which is great.
Yes.
And we've had lots of vendors, lots of sellers asking us, what do you think September's going to be like? And the answer was always, we don't know until we get there, really.
Yeah.
We don't know until the kids have gone back to school. And my God, some of them went back to school late, didn't they, as well?
But some of them went really, really early. Some of them went in August, and they weren't even the American schools. I felt quite sorry for
Well, I
them.
was going to say, if you went from ACS to St. Teresa's,
Yes.
I mean, the spread is absolutely
Yeah,
crazy
exactly.
in
Yeah.
dates. But I think we're back into a zone now where buyers are there who want to be either in or exchanged by Christmas.
By Christmas.
That's
And that's very achievable still, isn't it? Especially, I mean, if you're on the market now and a deal is being wrapped
Yeah.
up now,
Yeah.
then, you know, all things being equal, with the right people pulling
So
in the
it's
same
not-
direction.
Okay, so look, sales chasing is the bane of my life.
And
Sales
it is also your
chasing-
superpower.
Well,
so-
we try, but it's not like it was.
No.
You don't put a deal together on average and it just goes through in 4 weeks. It's bloody hard work. And actually now deals are taking a little bit longer. So if you're thinking you want to be in by Christmas, that means you're completing second week of December, which means you're exchanging by the end of November. So we're already halfway through September now.
I know.
So
Yes, we are.
you've got 6 weeks really to get the deal agreed.
Yes.
And then it's a race, isn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
So I think that we have definitely got this window of September and October, and everyone is saying to us, what should we do?
And I think, given the timeline that you've just been talking about, the key message here is get it right first time, because you can't, have a go at putting it on at a really inflated price and hope for the best, because your property is already going to be stale by the time your dream buyer comes through the door. So why not put it on at a realistic price, attract the right people, set your stall out with the right message. We're realistic, we're motivated, we want to do a deal, and then you still got time to get in by Christmas.
Bloody hell, can we just put that on the website?
Boom.
That
Yeah.
is get it right the first time, because we're in a marketplace that punishes mistakes.
Really does.
It does.
The phone literally doesn't ring if you put it on at too much money.
If you are advertising your property at too much money, the inquiries are just not there. People are not stupid. They won't look at it. They just won't. And if your agent's saying, oh, I'm bringing people round,
No,
they're the wrong
they're the wrong
buyers.
people.
I mean, we spoke to a lady who had, I think, 14, 15 viewings on the house, not a single offer. And all of the feedback was pretty much the same. And basically,
Yeah.
it was the wrong type of house for them, because they've got a budget that would get them something far greater than
And
the
they had
property there.
expectations, and so that
Yeah.
house was disappointing. And then you put it in the right price bracket,
Yeah.
and it's a bonanza. So,
Absolutely. And it is. And absolutely, you say we've had 2 properties which we put on at what we think are really competitive prices. And guess what? They've both gone to multiple
worked.
offers, and they've both had double-digit viewings within the space of a weekend.
Yes.
So the market is still there, definitely. But we are saying, without doubt, get it right the first time.
100%. And of course, the other challenge at the moment of getting it wrong is if you get it wrong with the wrong agent, and then you've got to deal with that massive long lock-in period, isn't it?
God, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks,
It's
24 weeks I heard that an agent had signed someone up to, with, Sarah, a 4-week notice period after that.
Appalling.
It's the most disgusting thing in the marketplace, as far as I think. Agents going in and overvaluing things is one thing, but then locking a client into a contract with them where they can't do anything about that. So they've been stitched up on price and they're locked in. So you can't go. It's like an abusive relationship, isn't it? It's like you're being love bombed and then gaslit and then punished, aren't you?
And then ignored.
I mean, and then ignored. I mean, it's just not right. And don't do it. Look, I'm going to say this now.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't sign an estate agency contract that is any longer than 4 weeks. And best advice I can give you, the minute you've signed the contract on a separate piece of paper, write the notice and give it to them at the same time. They'll look at you like you're mad, but then they've got to work for their money. They've been given their notice, which is 28 days. They've got a 4-week contract, so they've got 4 weeks to sell your house. Now listen, if there are brilliant estate agents out there and you really enjoy working with them and they've got lots of good viewings and the feedback's genuine and it isn't Weekender Wendy or Saturday Sue doing the viewings, you're getting good service, you just haven't sold, stay with them. You don't have to leave on the 28th day. You know, it isn't a tearful goodbye and, you know, you're going off on a train and they're waving you down misty-eyed. You can stay with them, but giving them notice on the day of instruction...
It's really putting a fire under them, isn't it?
2 things. 1, it protects you. 2, it makes them realise they're not dealing with an idiot here.
Yeah.
So that's my number 1 advice is do not, nobody sign anything like a 12 or 16 week contract. It is mad.
Yeah, it's just
mad. And it's actually just awful, really. But the minute you go onto the market...
Give them notice.
Give them the notice in the same envelope. Their minds will be blown. No one will have ever had it. No one will have ever had it, but you do it. Their minds will be blown and they have to be honest and they have to work for their money. Also, by the way... let's just say if these little darling estate agents have lied to you about the price and they know that they've been disinstructed, guess what? They're going to tell you in about 10 days, not waste 4 weeks.
They're not going to be dragging it out. Absolutely.
And that seems to be the case. We've noticed as well, and I don't know if buyers have noticed this, but when you see all the new price reductions coming on, they always seem to be on a Friday.
Oh, completely. And almost to a schedule, some of them, with one particular agent we've noticed, haven't we?
It's ring round Friday, isn't it? So Friday morning... Hit the phones, lads. Hit the phones, lads. What was it? The fear factor. Call them up. Get it down in price. And then Friday lunchtime, they're reduced. Friday afternoon, the emails come out. And then you hope that you might get some extra viewings on the Saturday. So, there are formulas that people are...
I don't like it.
It's horrible, isn't it? Right? We'd much rather get it right the first time round.
Absolutely. And this is what we say to our clients. We'd rather... We don't care what you think of us in half an hour when we're doing valuations or whatever. We care what you think of us in 6 months' time.
Yeah.
You know, we'd be horrified if we thought that people were slagging us off. We want them to stay with us because they want to stay with us, not because we've tied them in and we're laughing away. We want people to stay because they know that we're doing the best job that anyone could.
Yeah, absolutely. I think be very, very careful on overvaluing, but be very, very careful on contracts.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, Sarah, with all these buyers then, what's on their wish list? What's hot, what's not?
Well, in our area, the private roads, private estates are always going to be popular. Still are, always will be.
Always.
Yeah, absolutely. An easy commute to a primary school. That might be a walk or a short drive.
Yeah.
With all the traffic lights and temporary and the roadworks and everything we've got at the moment, that could be a half-mile commute in any direction, taking you 20 minutes.
A walk from almost anywhere is probably
it's the easiest
quicker
way
than
to
the
get
short
anywhere,
drive, isn't
honestly,
it?
Yeah.
What's going on?
I don't know. I feel like
With
I'm being
everything.
pranked. They put roadworks up for 6 weeks in one bit and you go, okay, they were done, lovely. Oh, they've put some down the road now. Really? Oh, you sit and then you turn right or you turn left and there are more. I don't know what's happening. It's very frustrating.
I wonder if someone is playing a prank on us.
The other thing that I think is going to remain popular is having more than one workspace within the house.
Yeah.
It was always nice to have a study. Now it's essential to have a room that you can create a workspace out of. And sometimes you need 2 because, two people could be regularly working from home and don't want to they either we've actually come across a few people who can sit in the same room and work
How
side
do
by
you do
side.
that?
I honestly don't know.
How do you
I
do
don't
that?
know. It's magic. It's
Yeah.
wizardry, and I don't think I will ever grasp that concept.
No.
But that it can be a room big enough for 2 workspaces, or 2 separate rooms that can be used for workspaces, which I
Yeah.
think is probably,
It's probably
more
be-
practical. But
probably
there we are.
better,
yeah,
isn't it?
and obviously gardens. People love a good garden. We've had some cracking gardens this summer, haven't we?
Well, do you know what? It's not been the sexiest of summers as far as weather goes, but we have had the most amazing gardens. And I think wandering around a home, look, you know my obsession with green grass. What was it? Green grass gets viewers.
Yes.
Green grass and lovely, luscious borders and all of that kind of thing that you don't necessarily have in London. I think if you are appealing to that buyer coming out, getting your garden looking fantastic is always great. And you don't need to have an absolute park or forest in
Not
there.
at all. It's just somewhere if you can glance out of a window and see something beautiful out of
Yes.
your window, and that could just be some colourful pots or anything, couldn't it? A lovely patio area,
It does
a bit
make
of lawn.
such a difference. And I think as we're
really
going
does.
into now that, because the weather's changed now, hasn't it? Look, I'm in long trousers and long sleeves for the first time for 3 months, really. But I think that going into this period of the year, that kind of, end of summer into early autumn, I think having a bit of colour in the garden still.
Yes.
And having a garden
it's
that looks
possible.
nice, it is, it really does. I think buyers really do like that.
They really do. And, you're selling a dream, aren't you? And whoever's
you are.
looking to live in this area is probably considering some sort of a lifestyle change, whether it's upsizing, downsizing or whatever. And a garden is always going to be an amazing asset to have in any house that you're selling. So
Well,
if you can
listen.
make it a feature, then go for it.
And what do we sell? We sell family homes, so
We do.
families need to have a little bit of space outside.
We
as
have
well.
a family mantra, is there room to kick a football? And that's always helpful. You can create a space to kick a football, even if it's against a wall, but it is nice to know that a child can go out and run around and go a bit mad.
So look, there you have it. It's a window of opportunity. I think that's the key takeaway from all of this, that you've got September, October, and maybe that first couple of weeks of November as well, if you're looking at selling this year. And the 3 best tips that I can give you is get the price right. If you are signing up with an agent, don't sign for anything more than 4 weeks. Remember, it's an ongoing contract, so it carries on if you're happy with them. It just means you've got the ability to change if you're not, and give them their notice the same day that you sign the contract. It flips the power straight back to you. If you are thinking about moving in the local area and you want to have a chat with us about what's going on, get in touch and we'd love to help out.